Finally, at number 1, it should not come as much of a surprise. It's the Orange Bowl. It's Florida State against the Georgia Bulldogs. Now, even though Georgia lost to Alabama, if you look at what Georgia has done this year, they've had to replace a lot of significant pieces, both offensively and defensively, at quarterback, at wide receiver, at other spots. They've been without guys at times. Bowers has been out. Ladd McConkey's missed quite a bit of time. They've had to deal with a lot of attrition, but this group, according to Kirby Smart, has been really resilient. Will they be resilient after the disappointment that was the SEC title game? And then speaking of disappointment, Florida State still believes at the time they should be in the college football playoff. It's hard to push back against that, but this is a group that's been led by their defense. They're third nationally with 45 sacks and has gone 9 straight games without giving up more than 20 points. They've been really good on that side of the football. I think the big thing for Georgia, they cannot turn the football over because Florida State's offense has struggled since Jordan Travis was out. Georgia's defense has dealt with some key injuries at linebacker. They have dealt with some key injuries at corner, but they do have enough depth to be able to handle what might be a very one-dimensional offense in the event in which this group, without Johnny Wilson, who knows who else is going to play for Florida State, but Johnny Wilson's already opted out. If they're one-dimensional and all they can do is run the ball, then Georgia's going to be able to tee off because Georgia's one of the best teams in the country on third down, and even in the loss to Alabama, they held Crimson Tide to just 3 of 13. So they're really, really good. Now, Bulldogs are going to dare the Seminoles to beat them by throwing the football. Can Tate Rodemaker and company do so? Now, Georgia's more complete than Louisville. They have a lot more firepower than Louisville, so we'll get a good glimpse as to whether or not Florida State's defense will be able to up the ante a little bit against a really talented group of skill for the Georgia Bulldogs. Now, going to be fascinating to see how Florida State handles it because last time we saw them on that side of the ball, they held Jack Plummer, who went 0 of 13 with an interception on passes thrown more than 10 yards downfield. It's probably not going to happen against Carson Beck and the Georgia Bulldogs, assuming Carson Beck goes. But either way, the Seminoles are going to make life very difficult for Carson Beck because they just got after Jack Plummer and sacked him 7 times. So this is a group of Jared Verse, Kalen DeLoach, Braden Fisk, and others that can really get after you. Now, Patrick Payton's in the portal. Don't know whether or not he's going to go, but either way, this is going to be a matchup that will be talked about forever. In the event in which Florida State wins the game, there will be a lot of people saying they should have been in the playoff. They should be crowned with a national championship from one of the publications. In the event in which Georgia wins the game, everyone's going to say, we told you so. Georgia should have been in. Georgia should have been in. Florida State was never good enough. Georgia should have been in. So there's a lot on the line on both sides, be given the narrative that will be created in the event in which they are victorious. So number 1 bowl game that I'm most excited about outside of the college football playoff is the Orange Bowl featuring Florida State and the Georgia Bulldogs.